My name is Catherine Anderson, 27. The night before Thanksgiving, my sister Vera called. "Don't come home, we don't want drama." I said, "All right." Hung up, bundled my 3-year-old into a coat. Drove to a North End trattoria still serving. Caleb ordered butter pasta. He smiled at the elderly couple at the next table. The woman smiled back. Then she walked over. "Sweetheart, our table is too big for 2 old people. Sit with us." I didn't know they owned the restaurant. I didn't know they had buried a daughter in 1996. I didn't know that one Thanksgiving dinner could rewrite the rest of my life. 7 years from that night, my sister would sit at table 11 of my wedding and read a name on my marriage license that she could not undo. My parents would not be able to look at me. The cranberry pie was still in the oven when she called. I was wiping flour off my counter. The clock said 6:14. Caleb was on the kitchen floor with his stuffed rabbit bunny. He was trying to feed Bunny a goldfish cracker. The phone buzzed face up. Vera, my sister. I picked up because I always picked up. "Sis, hi. Listen, I need you to do me a favor." That was how she always started. A favor that turned out not to be a favor. "What's up, V? Don't come tomorrow. Mom's friends are coming. Ginny McAllister. The whole bridge club. We need a clean table." I stopped wiping. The cloth was still in my hand. I had embroidered that cloth when I was 14. A small cranberry on the corner. Trying to be a good daughter. And Caleb? Especially Caleb. I looked down at him. He was 3. He had butter on his cheek from breakfast. He was telling Bunny that goldfish were good for him. He was a good kid. He was the best thing I had ever made. "Vera, he's 3. Then he won't remember being uninvited." I didn't say anything for a second. The pie smelled almost done. The casserole dish sat on the counter. Green beans with crunchy onions. My mother's text from last week said, "Wear blue." She did not say, "Bring a booster seat for Caleb." "All right," I said. "Don't make this a thing." "I won't. Love you, sissy." I hung up before I broke. Caleb looked up. "Mama, who was on the phone?" "Wrong number, baby." I never lied to him again. Not after that. I turned and the pie was burning. I pulled it out of the oven too fast. The dish slipped. It hit the tile and split. Red filling spread across the white grout like blood. Caleb went quiet. He had never seen me drop anything. "Mama?" "It's okay. It's okay." I knelt down. I picked up the broken pieces with my hands. A glass shard cut my thumb. I didn't notice until later. I just kept picking. I thought, I'm not going to Wellesley. I thought, I'm not going home. Then I thought, I don't have a home. I sat on the kitchen floor for a minute. Caleb came over. He put his small hand on my arm. He looked at the red mess and at my face. He did not cry. He just stood there. "Mama," he said, "did you make a mistake?" "No, baby. Someone else did." I cleaned the floor. I threw out the pie. I sat at the kitchen table and opened my phone. I typed 3 words. Restaurants. Open. Thanksgiving. Boston. I scrolled. Most places were closed. Most places had stopped serving by 6. There was one in the North End, Italian, Trattoria Rosalia. Open till 9 on Wednesday. Family menu Thursday. I closed the phone. I told Caleb to get his coat. "Are we going to Grandma's house?" "No, baby, we're going somewhere better." I had no idea where. I zipped his coat. I tied his shoes the way he liked. Double knot. Loop pulled back. I put him in his car seat. I got behind the wheel of my silver Honda. The check engine light had been on for 2 months. I drove east toward I-90. I didn't have a plan. I just needed somewhere with light. The phone buzzed once on the passenger seat. A text from Vera. "Don't make this a thing, sissy." I didn't reply. I had been replying to her for 27 years. I was tired. Caleb fell asleep before we hit the bridge. He had his thumb in his mouth and Bunny under his chin. I looked at him in the rear view. I thought about every Thanksgiving since he was born. 3. 3 years of being the soft one, the tolerated one, the one who ruined the picture. Tomorrow Caleb might forget being told to stay home. I would be the one who remembered forever. Before I tell you what happened at the restaurant, I have to tell you what happened before. You don't get a phone call like that out of nowhere. You don't get told not to come home unless you have been training to be told not to come home. I had been training for 6 years, maybe 27. The Andersons live in Wellesley, 40 minutes from Boston. Stone houses with white trim, country club Sunday brunch, Episcopal church on Christmas Eve. My father, Russell, retired from a regional bank. My mother, Joanna, sells houses to other Wellesley women. My sister, Vera, is 2 years older than me. She got into Brown. I went to BU. Vera was the polished one. I was the soft one. I learned the family rule before I learned to read. You don't ruin the picture. When I was 13, I cried because I got a B+ on a science test. My mother stopped me in the hallway. She wiped my face with her thumb. She said, "We don't perform pain in this house, Catherine. We perform composure." I never cried in front of her again. In college, I dated a boy named Brett Donovan. He had a guitar and a soft laugh and a Vermont apartment. He told me he loved me on a Tuesday. I got pregnant in May of 2014. I was 22. I told him over the phone. He said he had to think. 2 weeks later, his number was disconnected. His mother told me he had moved to Burlington. Then she stopped answering too. I drove home to Wellesley. I sat on the white couch. I told my parents I was keeping the baby. My mother set her tea down very slowly. "We have an arrangement with Dr. Halverson at Brookline Wellness," she said. "Or there's a private adoption agency. Discreet. I'm keeping him." My father came back from his study. He had a checkbook in his hand. He wrote a number across the top line. He tore it off and put it on the coffee table. $12,000. "Then keep your problems." I never cashed it. I still have the check in my dresser drawer. The envelope is marked November 2014. 11 years and counting. Caleb was born in April of 2015 at Mount Auburn Hospital. My mother visited once. She held him for 4 minutes. She said, "He has a strong jaw." Then she left to make a showing in Weston. I moved to Somerville. I worked as a paralegal. I took the bus. I learned to cook one-pot meals. Caleb learned to walk on a rented rug. Holidays got smaller every year. The first Easter, I sat at the kids' table next to Vera's stepson. Caleb was 9 months old. The second Easter, I sat at the same table. Caleb had a high chair pushed against the wall. The third Easter, Vera said the baby should stay home because of allergies in the house. The fourth Easter, I just stopped going. For Caleb's second birthday, Vera sent a card from Target. Pre-printed. No signature. I opened it and laughed and threw it in the trash. He didn't know. For his third birthday, she didn't send anything. In 2017, my mother called me twice. Once to ask if I'd watch Vera's stepson if the nanny got sick. Once to tell me Aunt Helen had passed. She did not call to ask how Caleb was. She did not ask his shoe size. She did not ask his favorite color. He had a favorite color by then. It was green. In October of 2018, Vera had a baby shower. It was a Saturday. I saw the guest list on Facebook. Co-workers from her event company, old friends from prep school, Garrett's cousins, Mrs. McAllister, my mother, my aunt, not me. I sat on my couch with that public guest list on my phone for 40 minutes. Caleb was in the bath. I could hear him singing about a duck. I told myself it was an oversight. I knew it was not. The week before Thanksgiving, my mother texted, "Bring your green bean casserole. Wear blue. Mrs. McAllister will be there." I texted back, "Should I bring his booster seat?" She wrote, "We'll figure something out." I read it twice. I felt my face get warm. Then I went and sat with Caleb in the bath and made him laugh until I forgot. I had been training for that Thanksgiving phone call for 6 years, maybe 27. So when Vera said don't come home, I said all right, because all right was the only word I had left for her. I drove down Hanover Street at 7:45. The north end was glowing. Italian flags in the windows, old men smoking in front of bakeries, a Christmas wreath up too early on a streetlight. I found Trattoria Rosalia between a cannoli shop and a tailor, wooden door, hand-painted sign, open Thursday, Italian holiday menu. I parked half a block down, $2.50 in the meter for an hour. I didn't know how long we'd be. I lifted Caleb out of his car seat. He was warm and limp and smelled like sleep. I carried him in. The hostess was young, black dress, hair braided up. She had a small pin on her lapel. The letter L. Underneath it, the year, 1996. I didn't ask about it. I would learn later. Just the two of us, I said. She smiled like she had been expecting us. Right this way. She led us to a corner booth. White tablecloth, a candle in a glass jar, a bowl of olives, a basket of bread. Caleb woke up when I set him down. He blinked at the candle. Mama, where are we? An adventure dinner. Adventure? Adventure. He thought about that. Okay. A waiter came and asked what the gentleman would like. Caleb sat up straighter. Butter pasta, please, and milk in a real cup. The waiter wrote it down like Caleb had ordered the most important thing in the world. And for Mom? Whatever's quickest. Gnocchi, maybe. Wine? Just water. He nodded and walked off. I looked around the restaurant. It was half full. A long table near the back was being set for 9. A father and his teenage daughter were laughing over a glass of red. A young couple was feeding their baby small pieces of bread. 2 older men in sweaters were arguing about football in Italian. It looked like a family restaurant in a city that knew how to keep one going. Caleb tugged at my sleeve. Mama, why is everyone here? Because they want to be. He chewed on that. Are we here because we want to be? I almost cracked. I made my face still. I said, yes, baby. Yes. The waiter brought his pasta. Steam rose off the plate. Caleb dug in. He had butter on his chin in seconds. He hummed when he ate, the way he always did. I tried 2 bites of gnocchi and pushed the rest around with my fork. I noticed an older couple at a foretop in the corner, a man in a navy jacket, a woman with her hair pinned up. They were watching us, not staring, watching. I pretended not to see. Then Caleb said the thing I knew he would say. Mama, did Grandma go on a trip? I held my breath. Yes, baby, a long trip. When she comes back, can we go to her house? We'll see. He nodded the way 3-year-olds nod when they are accepting something they don't fully understand. He went back to his pasta. He had a piece on his cheek. I wiped it with my thumb. I felt my throat get tight. I felt the room get blurry. I told myself, not here, not in front of him. I picked up my water glass with 2 hands so it wouldn't shake. I drank it slowly. I put it down. I felt the older woman's eyes on me. I didn't look up. The candle on our table flickered. The waiter passed by and asked if we needed anything else. I shook my head. He moved on. I thought, he is fine. He is fine because he doesn't know yet what was taken from him. I thought, I will protect that for as long as I can. I closed my eyes for a second. I opened them. The older woman was standing up. She was walking toward our table. She was smiling at Caleb first, then at me. I didn't know yet whose face was watching me. I didn't know yet that she had buried a daughter in 1996. I didn't know yet that she owned the building. I didn't know yet that she was about to set the next 7 years of my life on a path my parents could never walk down. I just knew her smile was kind. Sweetheart, she said, our table is too big for two old people. Would you and your boy come sit with us? My husband won't let me eat alone with him much longer. The man at her table laughed quietly. She was small, maybe 5'2", silver hair pinned up, a gold cross at her throat, a navy pashmina with small silver stars on the edge. Her hands were soft. Her eyes were tired in the way that meant she had cried a lot in her life and gotten through it. I should have said no. I should have made an excuse. I said, we'd love to. Caleb beamed. He grabbed Bunny by the ear. Mama, the lady has nice eyes. She laughed. She put her hand on my shoulder. Just the lightest touch. The first warm hand I had felt all night. I'm Rosalia, she said. Come. I picked up Caleb's plate. The waiter helped move our drinks. The man at the foretop stood up. He pulled out a chair for me. Then he pulled out a chair for Caleb and got down on one knee to help him climb up. I'm Vincent, he said. Tell me your name, young man. Caleb, I'm 3. This is Bunny. Vincent shook Bunny's paw. Pleased to meet you both. Caleb laughed. He had not laughed all evening. The sound went straight through me. I sat down. I put my napkin in my lap. I'm Catherine Anderson. This is my son. We were... Vincent held up a hand. Just a small motion. You were here, he said. That's enough. Rosalia poured me more water. She didn't ask if I wanted any. Tell us about this one, she said, looking at Caleb. Boys who love butter pasta grow into good men. I have evidence. Caleb told her his favorite color was green. He told her Bunny was 4. He told her his school was called Little Sprouts, and the teacher's name was Miss Carey. Vincent listened like Caleb was a senator. I sat there and tried to breathe normally. A waiter passed our table and said, Boss, the table for 9 arriving at 8. You want me to pull a corner two-top? Vincent nodded once. The waiter moved on. I felt my stomach turn. Not from food. You own this place, I said. He smiled. My name is on the door. I didn't see it. It's small. I looked at Rosalia. She was cutting up a piece of bread for Caleb. She set it on his plate without asking. He picked it up and ate. This is your restaurant, I said again. Like saying it twice would make it less embarrassing. This was the first one, she said. Vincent opened it in 1985. There are 8 more now. And 4 hotels. We don't talk about that part. I nodded. I did not know what to do with my hands. Why did you ask us over? Vincent looked at Rosalia. Rosalia looked at the candle. She reached behind her chair and lifted up a small framed photo. She turned it so I could see. A girl. Maybe 16. Bright eyes. A high school sweatshirt. The handwriting on the bottom said, Lucia, 1995. Our daughter, she said. She liked butter pasta. She was sick in 1996. We lost her in the spring. She would have been 39 this year. I didn't know what to say. We have Thanksgiving here every year, Vincent said. She had her last birthday in this booth. We come back. We sit. We watch the doors. We pretend she's late. Rosalia put the photo down. And tonight, she said, we saw a young woman come in with a sleeping boy and no plan, and we knew the look. We knew it from the inside. I felt my eyes burn. I made my face still. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be sorry, sweetheart, Rosalia said. Be hungry. Eat your gnocchi. There's no one in the world who can fix anything on an empty stomach. I laughed. It came out as a sob. I wiped it with the back of my hand. Caleb looked up from his plate. Mama? I'm okay, baby, I'm okay. Vincent slid a napkin toward me without making a thing of it. The food came. Their food was already on the table. They had ordered too much. There were extra plates and a basket of bread that wouldn't be finished. They didn't ask if we wanted any. They just shared. I ate. Caleb ate. He hummed. He told Vincent that the bread was the best bread. He says it's the best bread, I told Vincent. Vincent nodded gravely. He's not wrong. Caleb yawned big around 8:30. He put his head down on his arm. Rosalia took the navy pashmina off her shoulders. She unfolded it. She draped it over his small back like a blanket. He fell asleep with his cheek on Bunny. Vincent did not say anything for a minute. He watched Caleb breathe. Then he reached into his jacket and took out a business card. He set it on the table between us. Casa Lombardi Hospitality Group. Vincent Lombardi, founder. Tomorrow, he said. You might think tonight didn't happen. Call this number anyway. Ask for Maria. Tell her you ate at our table. We'll figure out lunch on Friday. No charge. Why would you do that? Rosalia answered. Because someone did it for us once, and because Lucia would want me to. The waiter came with a small box. Tiramisu, 2 slices. Vincent passed it to me. For the morning, he said. Boys eat dessert at breakfast. It's the law. I drove home with the card on my dashboard and my son asleep in the back. I had a stranger's pashmina folded on his lap. I had a box of tiramisu on the passenger seat. I didn't know yet if I would call. I didn't know yet I would call. I called on Friday. I sat in my car in the daycare lot. I held the phone for 20 minutes. Caleb was inside finger painting. I dialed the number on the card. Maria answered on the second ring. Casa Lombardi Corporate, this is Maria. Hi. I had dinner with Mr. and Mrs. Lombardi on Wednesday. They said, Catherine? Yes. They told me, there's a corner booth at Trattoria Rosalia at 1 o'clock today. Bring your son. Mr. Lombardi has paperwork. He says you'll know what it is. I went. It was a job application. Hostess, 3 nights and Sundays. Health insurance after 90 days. Pay was $23 an hour. Vincent had filled in half the form himself. Address, date, position. He left my name and signature blank. He pushed it across the table with one finger. You don't have to take it, but the booth is yours either way. I took it. Caleb ate butter pasta again. He told the same waiter from Wednesday that the bread was still the best. I started that next Monday. 2 weeks later, Rosalia called and invited us to Sunday dinner at their house in Beacon Hill. A brick brownstone with green shutters. 6 other Lombardis were there. Cousins, a nephew, Vincent's brother who lived 2 blocks away, and a man named Matteo, who I didn't know yet would matter. He was 32. He had quiet eyes. He had a wedding ring that was loose on his finger. I noticed the ring before I noticed his face. He saw me notice. He didn't move it. 11 months, he said. Her name was Elena. I'm not in a hurry. I nodded. I didn't know what else to say. He turned to Caleb instead. He squatted down. He held out a hand. You like cars? I have a model train downstairs that needs an engineer. Caleb went with him. Caleb came back at dinner 40 minutes later, having decided Matteo was acceptable. Joanna texted me on a Saturday in December. We'd love to have you Christmas Eve. The carpets are new. Maybe Caleb stays with a sitter. I read it twice. I had said yes to 1,000 smaller versions of that sentence. I had brought a sitter so the carpet would not be stepped on. I had eaten dinner out of paper plates in the kitchen so the dining room would not get loud. I had said it was fine. I had said I understood. I typed 3 words back. We have plans. She wrote, what plans? I wrote family. I muted the thread. I did not unmute it for 2 months. Vera called 4 times in January. I let it go to voicemail. I listened to one. Sissy. Don't be dramatic. Mom's having a hard time. You know how she gets. I deleted it. I started working 3 nights a week. Caleb came with me to Sunday dinner at the brownstone every week. Vincent taught him how to fold a napkin into a swan. Rosalia taught him how to say grace in Italian. He could not say it, but he tried. He called Vincent Papa Vince by the fall of 2019. He just decided one day. No one made him. Rosalia rang my doorbell on a Thursday in February. I had a paycheck on the fridge under a turkey magnet I had kept on purpose. She had a small paper bag in her hand. "For our friend," she said. I opened it. Inside was a child-sized chef's apron, white cotton, a small Italian flag stitched on the pocket. Caleb embroidered across the chest. "You didn't have to. Sweetheart, if you ever need anything. Anything. We are next door. I put the apron on him that night. He cooked with me at the stove standing on a stool. He stirred the spaghetti water and pretended he was a chef. He kept the apron on through bedtime. I sat on the couch after he fell asleep and stared at the wall for a long time. I had said yes to dinner. Then I had said yes to a job. Then I had said yes to Sunday dinner. Then I had said yes to a stranger ringing my bell with an apron. I had said no to my mother once. The world had not ended. I made a list in my head of all the things I had been afraid of for 27 years. I started crossing them off one by one. By spring of 2019, I was measuring my year not in trips home, but in Sundays away. The first year went fast. I picked up shifts. Caleb got bigger. Vincent paid for me to start a hospitality management certificate at BU part-time. I didn't know at the time that he had set up something called the Lucia Lombardi Memorial Scholarship for Single Mothers. I didn't find out for 2 more years. He had founded it in 1998. I was not the first woman they had quietly walked through. In 2020, the world went sideways. Trattoria closed dine-in in March. I lost my hostess hours overnight. I was scared. I had 3 weeks of savings. Caleb was 5 and home all the time and asking why we couldn't go to school. Vincent and Rosalia drove to Somerville every Sunday for 9 months. They left grocery bags at my door. The bags had handwritten labels. Lombardi family, Sunday. Inside were strawberries, milk, bread, eggs, sometimes a pasta dish in a Pyrex container, sometimes a small bag of chocolate for Caleb. I tried to refuse the 3rd week. Vincent wouldn't even come up the steps. "We don't need thanks," he called up. "We need you to text us if Caleb runs out of strawberries." I texted them when Caleb ran out of strawberries. That same year, Vera and Garrett bought a beach house in Wellfleet. My father gave them $300,000 toward it. I learned about it from Vera's Instagram. The caption said, "Family is everything." My mother called me once in 2020 to ask if I could babysit Vera's stepson if the nanny got COVID. I said no for the first time in my life, without an excuse, just the word. She didn't call again that year. When Casa Lombardi reopened in 2021, Vincent moved me from hostess to assistant general manager at a small hotel called the Beacon Inn on Beacon Hill. I was 30. Caleb started kindergarten. Rosalia and Vincent walked him to the door on the first day. He held both their hands. Rosalia bent down before he went in. "Engineer Caleb," she said, "do not let any of these kindergartners convince you butter pasta is not a food group." He laughed. He went in. I cried in the car for 6 minutes and then drove to work. Matteo and I started getting coffee that spring. He didn't ask me out. He just kept ending up wherever I was. The lobby of the hotel. The Sunday dinner. A bench in the public garden when Caleb had soccer practice. He took the wedding ring off in April. He didn't say anything about it. He just stopped wearing it. I noticed. Our first real date was lunch in May. We talked for 6 hours. He told me about Elena, who had died of a hemorrhage 3 days after a stillbirth. He said her name once, and then we didn't talk about it again that day. He asked me about Caleb. He asked me about my work. He asked me about my mother. He listened with both eyes. He said, "I'm not going to rush you. I have time. I have nothing but time." I dated him slowly. Caleb appraised him during week 3. "He is okay," Caleb told me in the bathtub. "He uses too much salt." I asked what he meant. Caleb said, "He puts salt on his eggs before he even tastes them. That's a salt problem." I told Mateo. Mateo started tasting first. Caleb noticed within a month. By the end of 2021, Caleb was calling Vincent and Rosalia Nono e Nonna. He had picked it up from one of the Lombardi cousins. He just used it one Sunday, and they both teared up. I pretended not to see. In 2022, Mateo asked if it was okay to take Caleb to a Red Sox game alone. Just the two of them. I said yes. They came back 5 hours later, both of them sticky and tired and holding a foam finger. Caleb told me on the way home that Mateo had bought him a hot dog and let him hold the foul ball. "He didn't try to be my dad," Caleb said. "He just let me be a kid." I almost pulled the car over. In March of 2023, Rosalia and Vincent invited us to Sunday dinner with a kind of weight in the way they invited. The dinner was the same. The table was the same. Lasagna, wine, bread. Vincent waited until the plates were cleared. He cleared his throat. He looked at Rosalia. She nodded. He said, "We've been living next door to you for almost 5 years. Rosalia and I would like to make it official. May we adopt you?" I stared. "Adult adoption? It's not about a parent label," Vincent said. "It's about the law remembering us." Rosalia reached across the table and took my hand. "You are my daughter, sweetheart," she said. "You have been since the night we saw you. We just want the paperwork to catch up." Caleb was 8. He was sitting on Vincent's left. He said, "Are you guys going to be my real grandparents now?" "In every way that matters," Rosalia said. "Okay," he said. "That's good. I like the way it already is. The paper just makes it stronger." I started crying so hard I had to leave the table. I came back 10 minutes later. They had put my plate in the warming drawer. Vincent slid a folder across to me. Petition for adult adoption. The lawyer had already written it. I signed in red pen. Caleb signed too at the bottom of his own page. That was the most natural sentence I had ever heard in my life, the one that asked the law for permission. Reginald Marsh was the family lawyer for Casa Lombardi. He was 68. He wore bow ties without irony. We met in his Back Bay office 2 weeks after Sunday dinner. He explained adult adoption in Massachusetts. "It requires the consent of the adult adoptee," he said, "and both adoptive parents. That's it. Biological parents have no standing to object. They are not parties. They will not be served. They will not be told. They'll find out." He smiled. "From you. On your timeline." I told my mother 3 weeks before the hearing. I tried to be kind about it. I called on a Saturday morning. I had practiced what to say. "Mom, I want to let you know something. I'm being legally adopted in June." There was a pause on the line. Then she said, "Whatever this is, we don't have any extra money." "Mom, I'm being adopted. As an adult." "By who?" "By Vincent and Rosalia Lombardi." "This is what you do to us? After everything we've done for you?" I said nothing. "What did they pay you, Catherine? Just tell me that." "Goodbye, Mom." I hung up. The call had lasted 43 seconds. That weekend, my father drove to Somerville for the first time in 9 years. He had his coat over his arm. He had aged a lot since I had seen him last. He stood in my doorway. He didn't come in. "Your mother says you're trying to embarrass us." "I'm trying to live, Dad." "Who are these people, Catherine? Are they grooming you for money?" I almost laughed. They've already given me everything they could give without paperwork. The paperwork is just for me. He looked past me into the apartment. He saw the framed photo on the mantel. Caleb at 7, sitting on Vincent's shoulders at Quincy Market. He picked it up. He looked at it for a long time. He set it back down. He did not ask Caleb's age. He did not ask Caleb's name out loud. He had not asked it in years. That was when I realized he never had. He left without saying goodbye. That night, my mother sent a text. "Don't expect to hear from us until you fix this." I took a screenshot. I sent it to Reginald Marsh. He wrote back, "You have nothing to fix. They have nothing to forgive." I slept for 10 hours that night. The hearing was on June 14, 2023, at Suffolk County Probate Court. I wore the cream dress Rosalia had picked. Vincent wore a blue suit. Rosalia wore the pearl earrings she had worn on her wedding day in 1979. Caleb wore a small navy blazer and held a folder he had decorated himself. Judge Howard Bergman was kind. He read the petition. He asked the formal questions. "Ms. Anderson, do you accept Vincent and Rosalia Lombardi as your legal parents under the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?" "I do." "Mr. Lombardi, Mrs. Lombardi, do you accept Catherine as your legal daughter, with all the rights and obligations of that bond?" "We do," they said together. Caleb walked up to the bench when invited. He gave the judge his folder. Inside was a certificate Caleb had made the night before. "Official Nana of Caleb Anderson Lombardi." Judge Bergman put it in his file. He kept his face straight. "Your Honor, on behalf of the petitioner's son, may I also approve a name change for the minor child? He has requested the surname Lombardi." Reginald slid the second motion forward. "Granted." He banged the gavel softly. He smiled at us. "Congratulations to your family." We took a single Polaroid outside the courthouse, Caleb in the middle, Vincent on his left, Rosalia on his right, Mateo and I behind, 5 of us in one frame, the first photograph that contained all of me. I changed my name to Catherine Anderson Lombardi. I kept Anderson as a middle name. I told Vincent it was the only honorable thing left from 27 years of being called that. He nodded. He did not argue. Caleb became Caleb Anderson Lombardi. He started kindergarten as Caleb Anderson. He started 4th grade as Caleb Lombardi. The school updated the records. He told his teacher his name had gotten longer because his family had gotten bigger. Vera heard about it from a cousin 2 months later. Her text was short. "What did you do to your last name? Tell me you didn't." I didn't reply. Mateo carved a wooden sign for the door of our apartment. "The Lombardis." He hung it the night we got home from court. I touched the letters with my fingers. I thought, this is the first house I have ever lived in. The next time I would speak my last name to my sister, it would be on a wedding program. Mateo proposed in January of 2025. He did it in the public garden, on a bench, on a Tuesday afternoon. Caleb was 9. He was holding the ring box. "Mama," Caleb said, "Mateo wants to know if you'll be his wife." I voted yes. Bunny voted yes. He says it's 3-1 if you say no. I laughed and cried at the same time. The ring inside the box was Rosalia's engagement ring from 1979. She had pulled me aside on the previous Sunday and pressed it into my hand. "Mateo asked," she had said. "I gave it to him. He tried to refuse. I told him he was not in charge of family heirlooms anymore. I am." I said yes in the public garden. Caleb hugged us both. We picked November 15th, 2025. Saturday, 1 week before Thanksgiving. The 7-year anniversary of the night Vera called. We picked a venue, the Lucia Ballroom inside the flagship Casa Lombardi Boston Hotel. Rosalia had named the ballroom after her daughter the year they bought the hotel. There was a brass plaque by the entrance. I had walked past it 100 times. I had never thought I would stand in it. We made a guest list. 80 people, mostly Lombardis. Some friends from BU and from work. A few of my co-workers from Casa Lombardi Properties. I looked at the list for a long time and then I added 2 names with a pencil. Russell Anderson. Joanna Anderson. I didn't add Vera at first. Then I added her with Garrett. I told myself I was doing it because I had grown enough to invite them. Maybe that was true. Maybe I just didn't want to give them the gift of being the people who weren't invited. Either way, the cards went out. Boston Magazine picked up the wedding for a feature in their April bridal issue. Boston's Power Family Weddings of 2025. There was a photo of the Lucia Ballroom. There was a name. Lombardi. Vera saw the issue at her event company office. She read it twice. She picked up the phone. Her voicemail came in at 4:38 p.m. Sissy. Heard a rumor. Call me. We need to discuss seating. She didn't ask if she could come. She told me where she expected to sit. I let it sit for 2 days. I called her back on a Thursday. You're getting married at the Lombardi Boston? Yes. To one of the sons? To Matteo. Vincent's nephew. And Vincent and Rosalia. Are they paying for this? They are my parents now, Vera. There was a pause. Don't say that out loud. Don't make it a thing. It's already a thing. She breathed in. Sissy, we need to talk about Mom and Dad. Dad walks you down the aisle. Mom sits in the front row. That's how this works. That's not how this works. Dad is welcome as a guest. So is Mom. So are you. Caleb walks me halfway. Vincent takes me the rest. That's the offer. You will not humiliate us. I won't. You did that yourselves. She didn't reply. In June, Vera sent a follow-up email. Pierce Anderson Events would like to be considered for catering. Family rate. I forwarded it to Vincent without comment. Vincent laughed when he read it. He did not write back. In August, my mother called the Casa Lombardi corporate office. She told Maria she'd like to schedule a tour. Maria, very politely, told her tours were booked through the new year. In September, Vera friend requested Matteo on LinkedIn. He didn't accept. Vincent advised me one Sunday at dinner. He said, "The truth doesn't need volume." I wrote it down on the inside cover of my planner. The Andersons RSVP'd yes by the September 30th cutoff. They had no idea what they were saying yes to. The week of the wedding, Joanna texted me 3 times. Once to ask if she could give a toast. Once to ask if her sister Aunt Helen could attend. Once to ask if she could see the seating chart in advance. I wrote back to all 3 with one sentence. We have it handled. See you Saturday. The night before the wedding, I checked into the hotel suite with Caleb. Rosalia and Vincent had arranged everything. Matteo was in another suite 3 floors down by tradition. Caleb was in his own bed with Bunny on the pillow. I slept the deepest sleep I had had in 7 years. Saturday morning, November 15th, 2025. The Lucia Ballroom. The room was set. Marble floors, gold sconces, 80 white chairs in a curved arc around a low altar of autumn flowers. Deep red, burnt orange, a long white runner down the center. I stood in the bridal suite. I wore an ivory silk gown. Rosalia had stitched the bodice herself. She had used Italian lace from a dress that had been her mother's. I didn't know that until that morning. Caleb stood next to me in the mirror. He was 10 now. 4 feet 10 inches tall. Tuxedo navy. Vincent had given him his own pocket square. Caleb was carrying a small velvet pillow with 2 rings on it. He had a single white rose pinned to his lapel. The rose had been cut that morning from the planter outside Trattoria Rosalia. "Mama," he said, "are we okay?" "We're better than okay. If you get nervous." I look at you. Not at anyone else. He nodded. A coordinator knocked on the door. It was time. Rosalia came in for 1 minute. She kissed Caleb's forehead. She kissed mine. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. The music started. A piano version of an Italian song called Conte Partirò. No words, just the melody. The doors of the Lucia ballroom opened. Caleb walked first. He walked slow. He held the rings in both hands. He kept his eyes on Mateo at the front. Mateo kept his eyes on Caleb. Then I stepped out behind him. I held my son's hand. I looked down the aisle. In the third row on the left, Mateo's cousins. In the second row on the right, Rosalia in a deep wine-colored dress, hands folded. In row 11, Vera, black dress, a clutch in her lap. In the row beside her, my parents, my mother with her hand on her chest, my father stiff in a gray suit. They were looking at me. They were looking at Caleb leading me by the hand. I did not look back. I walked. Halfway down the aisle, Caleb stopped. He turned to me. He took my right hand in his small one. He raised it. Vincent stepped out from the front row. He was wearing a charcoal suit with an Italian cut. There was a Casa Lombardi pin on his lapel. He walked 5 steps to where Caleb was standing. He stopped in front of us. Caleb placed my hand into Vincent's hand. Vincent looked at me. He spoke very softly. Only I heard it. Lucia would have liked you, sweetheart. She liked everyone who refused to disappear. He turned. He walked me the rest of the way down the aisle. Caleb walked beside Vincent now, holding the ring pillow. I heard a sound from row 11. Something between a gasp and a swallow. I did not turn. We reached the altar. Vincent placed my hand in Mateo's hand. He stepped back. The officiant was a Catholic priest from St. Leonard's in the North End, Father Greco. He had married Vincent and Rosalia in 1979. He was 82. He had a kind face. He cleared his throat. He said, "Today we celebrate the marriage of Matteo Vincent Lombardi, son of Vincent and Rosalia Lombardi, and Catherine Anderson Lombardi, daughter of Vincent and Rosalia Lombardi." I felt the room move behind me. A program slipped from my mother's hand. I did not see it. I heard it. "These are 2 families," Father Greco said, "who were always meant to be one." He performed the ceremony. We exchanged vows. I had written mine on the back of a Trattoria Rosalia napkin. Matteo had written his on a hotel notepad. We exchanged rings. Caleb passed them up with steady hands. Father Greco pronounced us married. There was applause. Then Vincent stepped forward again. He held a small wooden box. He had not told me what was in it. Father Greco stepped to the side. The room got quiet again. Vincent opened the box. Inside was a single brass key. Old. Engraved with 1 word and 1 number. Casa Lombardi, 1985. The dash at the end stayed open. He held it up. Casa Lombardi was started by a man who carried his last name from a village where there was not enough food. He said, "I am that man. Today I trust the next chapter to my daughter and my son, operating partner, president, steward of the Lucia name. May they keep the doors open for everyone who has nowhere else to go." He passed the brass key to me. I passed it to Matteo. Matteo placed it on the altar. Caleb stood up beside Vincent. He looked very serious. "Future steward," Caleb said. The room laughed warmly. The room understood. I glanced just once toward row 11. Vera was staring at the brass key, the crest on the box, the Casa Lombardi seal. I watched her face change. I watched the math finish in her head. 3 contracts, the Marriott bid, the catering loss, the reason her revenue had dropped 40%, the reason her husband had stopped joking about the company. The reason was sitting at the altar. I turned back. I did not look again. The reception moved into the same ballroom, tables covered in cream linen, candles. Each table had a card with a number. Vera's table number was 11. So was the row she had walked into. I had not chosen the number on purpose. Or maybe I had. Caleb had asked to give a toast. He had practiced it 3 nights in the bathroom mirror. He stood up on a stool with a microphone. The room hushed. "When I was 3, he said, my mom held my hand into a restaurant because we had nowhere else to go. Tonight she walked into this room with two hands, mine, and Papa Vince's. He paused. I just wanted everyone to know. The night before Thanksgiving, 7 years ago, we found a bigger table. The room stood up to clap. Vincent wiped his face with a napkin. He did not pretend not to. My father looked down at his bread plate. He did not look up. My mother started crying. Quietly, carefully. I could not tell if she was crying for me or for herself. Vera set her champagne glass down on the table. Very slowly, very carefully. Like she was setting down something that had broken. I stood up. I crossed the room. I took my husband's arm. My mother stood up too. She started walking toward me. I didn't know yet what she would say. She caught me in the marble hallway by coat check. She had her clutch under her arm. She held my elbow lightly. She tried to smile. Sissy, we are still your parents. Blood doesn't change. Blood didn't show up, Mom. They did. Your father is humiliated. The McAllisters are texting. Vera is in tears. The McAllisters have a name in our story. They never had one in mine. My father walked up behind her. His face was gray. His tie was crooked. Was this revenge, Catherine? No, Dad. This was Tuesday. Every Tuesday for 7 years. He didn't say anything. Did you really name the ballroom? I didn't name it. They named it after their daughter, 29 years ago. Long before me. You used us. I didn't, Dad. I just stopped lying about who showed up. He looked at me a long time. He turned. He walked back toward row 11 without saying goodbye. My mother followed him with her hand still half raised. I went outside near the valet. Vera was standing there. She had a champagne glass that wasn't hers. Sissy, Pierce Anderson is hurting. The Marriott bid we lost. That was you? That was Vincent. In 2023. 3 contracts. He didn't know yet they were yours. And now I know. And Casa Lombardi doesn't bid against family. I let that sit. But Pierce Anderson isn't family, Vera. You made sure of that the night before Thanksgiving in 2018. She looked at her hand. The hand that had ended that call 7 years ago. It was shaking now. I was protecting Mom. You were protecting yourself. There's a difference. She didn't say anything. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I didn't tell her I was sorry. I walked back into my own ballroom. Matteo was waiting at the head table. Vincent was telling Caleb a story I couldn't hear. Rosalia was laughing in a way I had never heard my mother laugh. The cake had not been cut. The night was not over. The Andersons left during the dance set. I saw them go. They did not say goodbye. They walked out the side entrance toward valet. The doorman held the door. The doorman did not know. At 11:42 p.m., my phone buzzed in my clutch. Joanna, we need to discuss this when the dust settles. I read it once. I wrote back one message and one only. There is no dust. The wedding is over. The family I keep is in this ballroom. I love you. I will not be returning to the Wellesley house. Take care of each other. I sent it. I muted the thread. I turned my phone face down on the table. Vincent had read over my shoulder. He did not say anything for a moment. Then he said, "That was a sentence 27 years in the making." I leaned my head against his shoulder for 1 minute. Just one. Caleb came up to the head table. "Mama," he said, "can I go play with the cousins now? They're all out on the patio." "Go, baby. Stay with Nico if it gets cold." "Okay, Mama?" "Yes." This was the best wedding I ever saw. You haven't been to that many. I know, but I would still pick this one. He ran off. Matteo took my hand under the table. He did not say anything either. I had a husband. I had a son. I had a father. I had a mother whose pashmina I still kept folded in my closet. I had a marriage to start. And I had a Thanksgiving in 6 days. We had Thanksgiving at Trattoria Rosalia, the same restaurant, the same booth where Caleb had ordered butter pasta. They pulled extra leaves out for the long table in the middle. 22 of us sat down, Vincent and Rosalia at the head, Matteo and me beside them, Caleb between Matteo and Vincent, Lombardi cousins, Maria from corporate and her wife and their twins. 2 single mothers Rosalia had been quietly mentoring through the Lucia Memorial Scholarship. A widowed neighbor from Beacon Hill who had nowhere else to go. It was the loudest Thanksgiving I had ever sat through. Vincent stood up before we ate. Lucia would have been 46 this year, he said. She is not here. Catherine is. Caleb is. We give thanks for the kindness we could not have planned. He raised a glass toward the photograph on the wall. Rosalia raised hers too. I raised mine. Caleb led grace. He went around the table. He asked each person to say one thing they were thankful for. I went into the bathroom before my turn. I let myself cry once at the mirror. One time. Then I came back. When my turn came, I said, I am thankful for the woman who pulled out a chair for a stranger and her boy 7 years ago, and for the man who didn't ask why. Vincent winked at me. Rosalia squeezed my hand. Caleb said his last. He said, I am thankful that we found a bigger table. I am thankful that nobody is uninvited. Then we ate. After dinner, Rosalia caught me in the kitchen. She held my face in both her hands like she had the night I met her. She said, You did good, sweetheart. You did so good. I said, I had help. She said, The ones who deserve help take it. Remember that for the next single mother you find. I nodded. She kissed my forehead. I went back out to the table. If you are listening to this on a holiday eve, if you have a phone in your hand, if you have a knot in your throat, if someone you love just told you not to come home, listen. Don't beg. Don't perform. Don't shrink. Drive. There is a restaurant somewhere with a table too big for the people sitting at it. There always is. You will not see it on a map. You will not find it on Yelp. You will turn one corner. You will park. You will carry your kid in. Sit down. Order what they love. Wait. Sometimes, the right people are already watching. I'm Catherine Lombardi. I'm 34. I have a husband whose hands are steady, a son who walks ahead of me and beside me, a father who pulled out a chair when no one else would, a mother whose pashmina I still keep folded in my closet, a sister somewhere in Wellesley who finally understands she handed me away. If this story helped you, if it reminded you of someone, share it with the person who needs to hear it. Don't come home. Build your own. Thank you for staying at my table.